Hey guys, let's take a look at this problem where we are looking at a function. It's got that f of x thing in the front, and I know sometimes that can look a little unusual. So this is using a couple of things that are important. One is it's got this notation, function notation. It's called f of x is the same as y. In other words, it can be written as y equals, and a lot of times you'll see equations written in y equals form. So here's a problem that was asked of me this week by a student, and we spent some time working through it, so I thought I would share it with you. So let's jump in. When we look at this, and it asks us about the domain and the range, here's the key things you need to know about the domain. Domain is always about the x values and what's happening from left to right on the graph. Range is always about the y values and what's happening from the bottom to the top on a graph. So if I look at the far left of this graph, I see an arrow. And if I look at the far right, I see an arrow. That tells me that this graph's domain is all real numbers. Now, this is the symbol for all real numbers. Sometimes you write out the words all real numbers, and sometimes you write negative infinity and positive infinity in parentheses. Those are different ways to say the same thing. And it's saying the domain from left to right, this line never stops. It continues in both directions. The range is going to go from the bottom to the top. So just like the y values, the y axis goes up and down, right? So if I think about the bottom of this graph, the lowest point on this graph is here where there's an arrow. So I know it starts at negative infinity. And the top of this graph, the highest point, is up here around the 7, but there's an arrow. So that means it doesn't stop at 7. It goes indefinitely through positive infinity. And so the range for this is also all real numbers or negative and positive infinity. So there's the gist on that. All right. So then let's take a look at the notation here. F of 3, think about what it originally was. It was f of x. F of x, meaning the function of x. And so we've replaced the x with a 3. All this is saying is if x equals 3, what is y? That's what this is saying. So we can see that really clearly on the graph. We see a point at 3, 3. When x is 3, y is 3. There's another way we could see that, and that would be to come up to the equation and substitute. We can take negative 2/3 x plus 5 and replace the x with what they're saying x equals. It equals 3. Well, when we multiply that together, the 3's cancel. That leaves us negative 2 plus 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. So our y value is 3. Okay, let's do one more. Excuse me. F of 6. Remember, this was f of x, and now they've replaced x with 6. So if x equals 6, then y equals what? And so we can look at the point here. We have a coordinate point at 6, 1. So the function of 6 is a 1. Or we can also plug into the problem again, the original function, I should say. And we'll just substitute that x value with what it's saying. It's saying x is 6. Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1. And that's what we've got here. So 2 different ways to find the missing value. All right. I hope that was helpful. These linear functions can be a challenge. I'll see you next time.